Hey YouTube, this is Retro9 here today, and in this video we've got a care sheet on how to house baby crested geckos. But before we do that, we're going to tell you a bit of background information on crested geckos. So crested geckos were rediscovered about 10 to 15 years ago on the island of New Caledonia, which is a few hundred miles off the shores of Australia and New Zealand. They get to an age of around 10 to 15 years. And size, you can compare that to of a leopard gecko, so you're looking anywhere between 11 to 9 inches. So then we'll move on to the enclosure. Here we've got Reese, who's going to show you what we use for our baby crested geckos. So what you can see there is a plastic tub with some holes all around it, and you can pick this up at any Home Depot store, or whatever you want to call it, hardware store. So first of all, you're going to need various enrichments in there. You can't just put them in there. So we're going to have here, and we're going to show you what you need in there. So we're going to open the tub, please, Reese. So we've got Reese who's going to show you what you need in there. And I always advise you to get a book before getting a crested gecko, and this has all the information needed on looking after crested geckos. So the first thing you'll need in your enclosure is some form of substrate. Here we have kitchen roll, and I always advise to people to have a non-loose substrate for baby crested geckos and practically any reptile, and this is because they're quite clumsy and they can digest the substrate and they can get impacted quite easily, and that's basically when the digestive system just gets clogged up, and you don't want that, obviously. So we use kitchen roll, and there's many other substrates you can use, but kitchen roll is good because it contains and it retracts a lot of the humidity needed. So we're just using 4 layers, but you could also use something like Eco-Earth, but I would never use anything else such as orchestra bark. So the next thing you need is the decor. So here we have various decor which you can use. These are fake, by the way, but you could also use real, and we'll do a video dedicated to what real plants you can use. So they are on a boiled gecko, so you need to make it so they can climb in the air and just exercise basically. But you don't want it to be too cramped. You want to make it so they can actually have some form of exercise on the floor as well, because they will go on the floor. So once you've got your decor all sorted out, the next thing you need to do is getting your food dishes sorted out and stuff like that. So once Reese has done that, I'll show you what it looks like in there. So this made it lots of shrub all clumped together, which makes them feel a lot safer, and that's what they do in the wild. In the wild, they're just sticking in like shrubs and trees. So will you get the food dish, please, Reese? She's there. So when preparing food, you can feed them just off crested gecko diet, and you could just basically use a milk bottle cap. Obviously these are just found off milk bottles, or you could use any form of bottle, but when they're progressed to adults you could use something like a mealworm container, and you can just put that anywhere on the floor. But I'm getting these magnetic feeding dishes, which obviously you can only use for glass, but for this male we're getting one, so you can stick it on the side and stuff like that. Okay, so once that's sorted out, you need your readings. So we've got a thermometer which reads the temperature. You can get this from any reptile shop or reptile show. They can be kept at temperatures at around room temp, so that's anywhere between 21 degrees Celsius to 26 degrees Celsius, and they will have a hydrometer. They need a humidity of around 60 to 85% at all times because they do come from a quite a tropical place, and this is easily achieved by getting a misting bottle and just spraying it twice a day. Just spray it twice a day. Or you can get one of them misters, them digital misters, but I would never get one of them because they're too much, and just they do the same job. Raising humidity, you could also use maybe some sphagnum moss. That's dry at the moment, but you could just scatter it all around there and that'll raise the humidity up. You can see it's dry now, but once it's wet it goes kind of reddish colour. So that's that setup video. Next, for feeding, they need a main diet of Repashi's crested gecko diet, and I've used this for a while now, and it's a complete diet, so you don't need to add anything, no calcium, no other supplements. They could just be fed off that, but I would always recommend for them to have a varied diet and different things basically, like anything. But when you could feed them insects such as crickets, roaches, and the food must always be dusted with vitamin D3 here. So we're using was it Repkel with vitamin D3, as these have no UV lighting. But for this guy, I probably wouldn't use that, as he's got a UV lighting strip there, so it's not necessary. So yeah, you could just get what we use is a cricket tub, put some of the calcium on the bottom there, and just dust the insects. So that's that done. So that's practically it really for the setup. You can handle them every single day, although they're not too keen on that. And you got to be careful with the tail, because they will drop the tail like most geckos, but unlike leopard geckos, their tail will never grow back, they'll never get a little stump or anything. So you got to be careful when you are handling them. And that's practically it really for the setup. So just a quick recap. For babies, you could use an exoteric enclosure, but they do get quite scared when they're put into a big environment, much like humans and any other animal. So it's best just to have a dark area for them to live in, which is a plastic tub is fine. You need enrichment, so you've got fake plants and substrate. You need your digital readings, we've just got the basic ones. Feeding dish, so substrate, and that's really it for the setup. So if you have any questions, please just comment to us, like, and please subscribe. Cheers.